Hey everyone, Dave here back again to review the 8th episode of Season 1 for Gotham, and this time it is for the episode called The Mask Smokin'. Very appropriate considering that Dumb and Dumber 2 comes out this week. And yeah, again, the titles for these episodes are just becoming weirder and weirder. And I'm sad to report that this is probably the weakest episode of the season so far because nothing is worse than dull drama and dull television. And that's the key word that I can describe this episode. Dull. 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 There was hardly anything interesting in this episode. And almost anything else was either done in a clumsy kind of way or just wasn't interesting. It's just like, okay, we're progressing this particular subplot so that we can hopefully get to something better later on down the line. But for the most part, this episode really didn't do anything that some of the previous episodes, mainly the last one, because the last one was pretty exciting. I mean, the episode literally starts off with Gordon on a new case. So you're like, wait, okay, this guy's already back to work as if the events of last week's episode didn't happen. But fortunately, that's actually one of the redeeming qualities of this episode that keeps it from being pretty mediocre, and that is that they do acknowledge that the event in last week's episode where the cops practically abandoned Gordon when he faced off against Zaz in the precinct, they actually connected this episode to that event, having all these cops not wanting anything to do with Gordon. So as the episode went along, they actually touched upon that. It's too bad that one impromptu speech from Bullock was enough to persuade everybody to help out Gordon. And I'm like, okay, you know, it's already over. Even the case itself was dull, and the bad guy that they were going after this time around, not only was the thing that he was doing something that we've seen before, you know, it was a mixture of Saw with Fight Club, and it's kind of funny that I referenced Fight Club because I just recently saw it for the very first time, and I was blown away by that, so it was kind of a nifty little coincidence. But not only was it something that we've seen before, and it was wrapped up pretty quick, but the bad guy himself was just so boring and such a giveaway. The moment that he gets introduced, it's like he practically has a neon sign around him that says, "I'm the bad guy. Hey, look, I'm the bad guy." like they didn't even try to throw in a twist like they've done before. Like, for example, the Spirit of the Goat. It turned out to be this woman who was hypnotizing people, dudes, into becoming serial killers. That was pretty clever. I mean, a little bit far-fetched for the real world, but it was actually kind of clever. It was like they were actually trying. This time, they expressed no interest into making not only this bad guy charismatic or interesting, but the episode itself charismatic or interesting. We've even had some material with Fish Mooney and the girl that she recruited in order to be able to work from the inside, and from what she was able to describe, copy down some pages that she's gonna use in order to capsize Falcone's empire. And I like that we did progress a little bit more in that particular subplot, because I'm like, okay, where is this girl gonna fit in all this? And as routine as it was, at least I was happy that they were going somewhere. I'm like, okay, what do these pages mean? And I thought it was a nifty little twist that Mooney's doing this thing that the Joker was doing in the Nolan trilogy, where she's telling these stories that aren't particularly true, which I was able to pick up on. As soon as they showed that old lady up on stage, I'm like, that's her mother. And as soon as she started talking about her mother and how she was killed, I'm like, she's bullshitting. And I also liked that they played it off subtly. They didn't say, "It's okay, Mom. Oh, thank you, sweetie." No, they actually had some subtlety to the way they portrayed her as her mother. Like, you can tell from the gestures or from the way they were looking at each other that was Mooney's mother, and the way she was able to twist that story to manipulate that girl actually was pretty interesting and detracted from that early scene she had with Penguin. I didn't hate it, but it was Mooney being at her Mooniest, where she was all like, "Listen, you little slime, you little," like, I hate it when she does that. I like it when she's a little bit more subtle and collected, which she was, thankfully, for the remainder of this episode. So I'm glad that little twist with her was able to distract me from my complaint with her performance at the beginning. And then we had some material with Penguin, but again, not enough, and nothing that really progressed anywhere. All he really found out from the one guy that is now Mooney's replacement for the job that he once had is that she has somebody working for Falcone, somebody on the inside, which is obviously that girl. And even Penguin's face is like, okay, that really does not tell me anything. It's like he even felt what I felt as an audience member, like, okay, that's really not concrete, and makes me reason, well, not really reason with him because that makes me a bit of a sociopath, but it kind of makes sense for him to just kill this guy because I'm like, okay, didn't really learn that much. Now what? And that subplot itself didn't really move that much either. And then we had the stuff with Bruce. Him going to school and the bullies picking on him. And sure, the bullies picking on young Bruce was an essential part of the Batman mythos. I mean, we've had different iterations of Batman that did briefly show Bruce's childhood, and he did get picked on by some kids. But some of these kids were just so cartoonish. Like, kids don't talk this way. So your parents are dead, huh? Did you like see a lot of blood and guts? And it was just like, oh wow, you guys are just trying to drive this home way too much. And then the scene where he beats him up, and I'm like, okay, you can beat him up now. What couldn't you beat him up earlier? Saying, I was hoping for there to be another twist there where Bruce says, oh, I couldn't have beat him up because he was just too tall. And then they show a shot of him climbing into his limo from the inside of the building through a window, and then it pans out. And then we see the bully on the ground with blood because they were on a staircase. So that would have been an interesting twist. That Bruce said, "Oh yeah, I lost," but this kid is like there with blood coming out of his nose and his mouth and like crying or whatever. That would have been rather clever. But no, he really did get his ass kicked, which I guess I don't mind whatsoever because he doesn't really know how to fight. And by the end of this episode, Alfred promises to teach him how to fight. Which, again, why is he beginning his training? Which is why I actually appreciated the one scene where he did say that he's angry all the time. I'm like, okay, this is actually leading somewhere. We're leading to what I wanted to see young Bruce do in this show so far. Not all this detective work that is way ahead of him, but being more vulnerable about his feelings, about the effect that his parents' death had on him. And I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Oh, now you want to learn how to fight? Oh, come on. But out of all the people that he's asking, I'm glad it's Alfred because, again, I really do like this version of Alfred. And seeing how he just took those, those eyes that actor has that are like going in different directions, just staring down at that bullet and saying, and I let him almost kill you. I'm like, okay, I do like Alfred. I do like this version of Alfred, so I do appreciate him. And that's why I'm glad that out of everybody, Bruce is asking him to teach him how to fight. And then before the episode wraps, we get two things that are literally just thrown in there, and they could have been saved for another episode, and one of them really irritated me. It was literally just one shot, one simple scene that made me go, what? And I'll get to that one in a second, but first one is Catwoman finally returns after being gone for so many episodes. As she finally returns, and at first, it looked like she was doing something incredibly stupid, exiting a jewelry shop when the cops are right there. But then we have a scene at the end where she personally requested for Gordon's audience, so to speak. And that made me think, okay, maybe she got caught on purpose. I'm like, why are you like doing this in broad daylight? Got that zombie game, Dying Light, yeah, whatever. So yeah, she gets caught, but then having that scene at the end of her personally requesting for Gordon and her having that smirk on her face in that last shot made me think that, okay, maybe she tried to get caught on purpose. And now she has maybe some information that she found out about the Wayne murders, and maybe she'll reveal that in the next episode. So I'm hoping that's going to be something kind of interesting. And that one, I didn't mind being in this episode that much. The one that I did mind being in this episode, it could have been saved up for the next one. And it just, I'm like, what is Barbara leaving? Okay, This episode, she's like, okay, you know, I chose this half, you know, leave the gun, I'm with you. And I did like that first scene where she was ultra paranoid by just having somebody walk in, because, again, it's another scene that showed the effect of the events from last week, of Gordon going around and Barbara getting taken by Falcone. I liked her sense of paranoia there because it added drama, it added tension, it added some kind of threat. Like, oh, at any moment somebody can walk in. You know, it's effective. And then the second scene, she's like, okay, look, I get it. I accepted this responsibility of being your wife and all this going on. Okay, that's fine. But then we have that scene of her leaving Jim hanging on the phone. She leaves a note, and she leaves, clearly grabbing a suitcase on the way out. What? You were saying you were cool with all this, and now you're leaving? Okay, I'm gonna calm down here. So, hopefully we get some kind of explanation next week. But for now, I'm really starting to dislike Barbara. She's becoming that one character that we've had in... she's becoming Laurie in The Walking Dead. She's becoming Skyler in Breaking Bad, although Skyler had very concrete reasons. And she was a very well-developed character and very well-performed. This girl, I don't want to call her anything else, but she's starting to bother me quite a bit now. And I'm hoping they find a way to make her work into the story. And if you guys can't, I'm completely fine with you guys killing her off. So, in conclusion, I believe that this is probably the weakest episode of the season because one word kept popping into my head as I watched it, and that is dull. And I guess the other word that I can think of, because it did have some of those redeeming qualities by the end, and it also featured a previously on Gotham segment that didn't have the same clips over and over, I'm willing to barely pass episode 8 of season 1, The Mask, by giving it a 6 out of 10. It is the first 6 for the season, and really heavy bump in the road for Gotham. So, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode if you saw it, and I'll see you guys next time, hoping for a better episode. See you there.